Hey, it's me. This is my video response to chapter 6 in Ramachandran. I definitely like this chapter. I want to go into a language field, so language is super fascinating to me, and a lot of it made a lot of sense because I have taken language development with Dr. Hammond. But even without that background knowledge, I think he does a really good job of breaking down the lexicon and semantics and whatnot, which are very different parts of language that people don't really know about or appreciate just because language is such an innate thing that we have. And so I really like that he breaks down the different parts. As for things I found interesting, the Babinski reflex that he was talking about, I've heard about it before, but I haven't heard about the reasons they think that it happens. So it's talking about the damage to the pyramidal cells, but then he talks about how they think that maybe what happens is when there's damage to the area, it stops what we have, so it returns to the more primitive form, which to me is really cool because I do think that we know that we still have a lot of those innate primitive processes, but because of our higher functioning, they've been kind of pushed to the side or have become irrelevant or just don't function anymore. So I think it would make sense that because we still have basic structures that are similar to that of lower level apes and whatnot, that if the higher functioning areas were damaged, that the parts of our brains that were similar to the apes and whatnot would come into play because they're in the same area and that's what they were originally used for. So it would make sense that they would become more functioning, I suppose. One of my favorite parts about this chapter was when he poses the questions. Sorry, I'm looking at them right now. Where he poses the questions about can we do words allow thinking, or did thinking produce words? And without internal speech, could we have higher level thought? And I think the last question, how did language come to be in general? And this is a question we were asked a lot in language development. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg type thing. And I think personally that it would make sense that there's obviously thought without language, and that's apparent in the fact that lower level creatures in general do think, in the sense that they think in the sense of how to how to fulfill their most basic instincts, for feeding. A lion on the savannah is going to have to go through some sort of thought process on waiting and timing and when to attack and whatnot. And so I do think that's a certain level of thought, but I think, and it's obvious that we have higher level thought than creatures without language. So to me, what it is more so is that with more words and whatnot, we're able to express ourselves more, and with more expression, there's more internal thought of basic desires. So I almost feel like it's been kind of a not a loop, but to where there was thought, then there was language, and then that language induced deeper level thought, perhaps. And I know that has to do a lot with the higher functioning areas we have, such as Broca's area and whatnot. But that's kind of basically what I believe about that. Because I do think we think in words sometimes, and I think that's we think in words. I think that's definitely a thing. I think that's what's allowed us to organize and categorize and thought process and at a higher level. But it could also be just an expression issue to where perhaps other creatures do think, but it's just they lack the ability to express, so there's no point in overthinking. But I think it's definitely words allow higher thought processing. And then he went into talking about like the is language an innate thing, and I definitely agree with him on the fact that it's not innate, but the ability to acquire language is innate, and then we have to have some sort of specialized area, because if it were just that the ability to learn is innate and then you have to be exposed, then like a monkey raised in a human household would be able to learn language. So there's obviously something special going on in our brains. I obviously don't know what it is, but I would believe in the concept of the language acquiring device or something of that sort. And going through human growth and development and just babysitting kids and watching them, I do 100% agree that the ability to learn it is there, but they have to be exposed, and there's a subconscious processing that goes on that kind of filters out like what rules are most frequent or how is this most frequently done, and over time a child is able to build a whole dynamic within the brain, which then carries them throughout life. And I would have to argue that in the case of Jeannie, the little girl who was found in the woods, she may have never been able to fully acquire a full system of language, and that has a lot to do with the critical period of language, but she was able to learn some language, and so that suggests that we do have a certain area that just like, no matter what happens, we are able to pick up on words, like we are designed to learn language. So, but yeah, overall I really like this chapter, but that's just because language is awesome. Thank you.